you can put a note. Ash is not actually this white.
Hey guys, welcome back. Trevor here. How have you guys been? 안녕하십니까? 잘 지냈습니까? So today I'm going to talk about the Korean permanent residency visa, and I have a special. No, you're not special, man.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Hello guys, my name is Ash and I am from Yemen.
Ashraf got his F-5 visa, and I think it's a really nice opportunity for us to get to know more about the F-5 visa. There's this one document with all the information about the visas and the requirements, but the problem is it's in Korean. And Ashraf, I would like you to tell people where you can find that document.
You go to Hi Korea website and then you have the 자주 찾는 menu, and in that list you will find something called the 법령 지침 정보. Entering that page, you will be able to find 체류 조건별 manual.
For those who can't speak Korean, one of the important websites that I found was imikorea.com, and also Visas Korea Immigration Consultant. Why would anyone want to apply for a permanent Korean residency, Ashraf?
For my case, actually, being able to start my own business without any restrictions is one of the benefits I'd be getting. When it comes to, for example, labor law, you are treated exactly like a Korean when it comes to labor law.
What do you mean by treated exactly the same as Korean?
So I have a specific case, for example.
Okay, yeah, please tell.
If you are here working in Korea and you have not a permanent, but what do you call it, the 계약직 contract, you have to renew you are a contract worker, you have to renew your contract every year. Now in labor law for Koreans, the employer cannot give you more than 2 years contract, renew the contract for you for more than 2 years. After that, he is forced to give you a permanent contract, or he should let go of you.
Okay.
Now even if you have the F-2 visa or E-7 visa, the law cannot protect you when it comes to this specific case.
I see.
Of course, the long stay itself is a blessing. You can leave Korea and come visit Korea every 2 years once, at least to
once
maintain
every 2
your
years.
to maintain your F-5 visa.
Just to mention, I have an F-27, which is a point-based visa, and Ashraf has an F-5 visa. So if I wanted to start a business in Korea, then I have to start a business which is related to the major that I graduated from. There are 27 types of F-5 visas. And I try to divide them into 6 categories, just broad categories. They are not the official categories. So there's the general category, basically depending on how long you've stayed in Korea, and then family. For example, if one of your parents has an F-5 visa, then you're eligible to apply for it. Or for those people who
spouses, children too, also can get the F-5 visa under certain circumstances.
Under certain circumstances. We have nationality. So for example, if you're born to Korean parents overseas, your nationality is registered overseas, then you can apply for the F-5 visa. But there are conditions. I think you have to stay in Korea for 2 years or more. There are people who had the Korean nationality, they gave it up.
All right.
So they are also allowed to apply for the F-5 visas. The 4th reason is work or technical skills. If you are in a certain profession, let's say you're a doctor or a resident, for example, you're also allowed to apply for a certain category of the F-5 visa. And you have investments, of course. Money talks. Money talks. If you are going to invest a certain amount of money, 300 million won, let's say for example, in a company owned by a Korean, or 100 million won, I think, in your own company.
Or if you start your own business with, let's say, $500,000
and employ a certain number of Koreans, you can apply for the visa. And the last one is education. So if you graduated from a doctorate degree in a local institution, you're allowed to apply for the visa. We're going to try and narrow down on certain visas which probably people like us, poor people like us would be eligible for.
The visas that most people who are watching this video going to apply to are either going to be the F-5-1, the general visa, or people who finish their bachelor's or master's degrees here in Korea, so it's going to be F-5 F-10 visa, or people who finish their PhD, which is the F-5-15 visa, for example. We have like these three. The F-5-16 visa, which is for people who didn't go to university here in Korea, or who may have gone to university here in Korea, but for example have
point-based visa.
Yeah, so system. It's going to be the F-5-16 visa.
So the general requirements, these are just the basic requirements for all the visas, but there are exceptions.
And there are variations.
And there are, man, it's just crazy. Anyway, so you have like conduct. For example, if I committed a crime and I want to apply for the F-5 visas, if I was sentenced 5 years...
Start with the crime.
Yeah, I have to start with the crime. After I finish my sentence, 5 years have to elapse before I can apply for the F-5 visa. If I was fined, for example, then 3 years have to elapse after I finished paying for the fine for the permanent residence visa.
And this is why they ask for the criminal record from your country. Like if it's here in Korea, they have the records already, so they just ask you to provide the criminal record from your own country.
Yeah.
Even it's weird, but even if you stayed in Korea for like 6, 7, or even 10 years.
10 years. As Ashraf mentioned, there are two types of criminal records they look at. Domestic criminal record, that is in Korea, and you also have like the international criminal record. Think about it as the criminal record in your country. The funny thing is, if you are, for example, a large investor, then they don't look at your criminal record overseas.
Money talks.
Yeah, money talks.
Money talks. He brought big bucks to Korea, don't worry.
The income is based on the GNI per capita, that is the gross national income per capita. They look at your GNI, which means not just the money that you make in Korea, but for example, if I'm working in Kenya and Korea at the same time and I receive money from my company in Kenya, then that is going to be captured in the GNI.
They only count the income that you paid taxes for. So
yeah, that's true.
If you paid taxes in Kenya and you didn't pay in Korea, they won't count that income in your...
True.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And then you also have like duration. It varies. And lastly, you have the KIP.
So KIP is Korean Society Integration Program. It consists of 5 levels, and in order for you to be considered as someone who completed the program, you have to finish at least to level 5. The reason we didn't talk much about the language is because we mentioned KIP. Before I applied for the F-5 visa, I had to extend the F-27 visa. This is like a condition. I had 2 options. The first one was the F-5-10 visa, because I graduated from a Korean university more than 3 years ago. And the second option I had is the F-5-16 visa, because I finished the KIP program and I'm a holder of the F-27 visa. And the visa I went to was...
We are going to start with the first visa, which is the F-5-1 visa, the general permanent residency visas. And eligible visas, you have like from D7 to D10, D7, D8, D9, D10. Those are people like who are working in the company. Intercompany transfer, if you have like a branch in Korea or a foreign company and one of the workers is transferred from another country, they get the D7 visa. Anyway, so you also have like the E visas, professors, instructors, they are eligible to apply for these visas. For you to apply for the F-5-1 visa with these visas, number 1, you need to have stayed in Korea for over 5 years, which is a long time. And also number 2, you need to have like double the GNI per capita, and also you need to complete the level 5 of KIP or 60 points in the permanent resident and naturalization exam, and also you need to present your certificate of overseas criminal record history. Ashraf and I are not eligible for F-5-1 visa based on the double GNI per capita requirement.
That's where we failed.
Yeah, that's why we failed.
We're poor.
F-5-10 visa. You have to have stayed in Korea for more than 3 years prior to the application and be a full-time employee. You have to have been a full-time employee for more than 1 year. That's the Chongyuji.
Correct.
You have to be like a bachelor in a high-tech field, in like engineering, IT, or nano.
If you just finished your bachelor's in non-engineering or non-science field, you cannot apply for the F-5-10 visa. If you are a master's graduate, then you apply to this visa regardless of which field you graduated from, science or non-science.
If you studied abroad, then you have to be from like
top 500 universities.
You have like a requirement of the universities that you studied in. The GNI per capita, the requirements. You only need like GNI.
One time the Korean GNI.
Yeah.
For the previous year. So
for the previous year.
They basically ask for your income statement for the past year.
You applied for the F-510 visa, right?
Yes, that's my visa.
Yeah, because this is like the only visa which satisfy like all the requirements. Yes. So the next visa is F-511. I found this to be a really interesting visa, and I thought you had applied for the F-511 visa.
No, it's a little more special than you think it is. Mine is like pretty just, engineering graduate, this is what it is.
The good thing is you don't have to have like Korean language ability. Like you don't need to submit anything about the KIIP, Korean Social Integration Program. And you don't need to submit a criminal record from your country, which is good if you commit crime and you can't speak Korean.
Who would do that then,
It's a point-based visa. If you want to see if you're eligible for this visa, you can just go to Visa Korea, and they have like the F-511, and you have like compulsory items and you have like elective items. For example, Trevor, a former head of state, none, so I don't get any points. So research outcome, I've never done any research, I've never written any paper. World famous sports star, none. Lecturer at Global Experience University, none.
Is there anything where you are none? Because since you are so not eligible for it. So for F-515, it's permanent residency visa for PhD graduates here in Korea. Now, if you are a PhD graduate here in Korea, first of all, you are exempted from the KIP program. They're not expecting you to speak fluent Korean or even know much about the Korean culture. Also, you don't have the GNI, that twice GNI condition or requirement, as long as you have your job and you get, I think it's one time the GNI for the F-515 visa. Once you reach your PhD, your life in Korea gets easier.
Really easy.
Yeah. Criminal record. They still require the criminal record.
From overseas. They don't look at any criminal any crime you committed in your country.
I know of a case, like my friend is a PhD graduate from SNU, but they still ask them for the criminal record actually.
This is like why it gets gray. There are rules in the manual, but then when you go to the immigration, they're going to ask you for
the additional requirements.
Yeah.
The clerk
you look like a criminal probe. You have to be employed in a domestic company, and you have to have graduated from like a domestic graduate school. Finally,
the F-516 visa. F-516 is a good visa actually if your income is pretty high. Why? Because it doesn't matter if you are a contract worker or permanent worker at a Korean company, it doesn't matter. As long as your income is twice the GNI. And of course, because it's point system, you have to have a sufficient number of points, above 80 points or something, right?
Just for the F-27.
Yeah, just like that.
So essentially, I have like the F-27 visa, which I mentioned is like the point-based system. So if I want to go to the F-516 visa, there are basically two conditions. Is I have to have stayed in Korea for at least 3 years prior to the date of application. Number two is I have to have like twice the GNI, which I don't.
Yeah, that's
GNI per capita, sorry.
But here's a tip.
Okay.
There are like cases where they get exempted from this condition. Like if you are a KG, especially if you had the KGSP visa while you are still at school.
The second part of the video, Ashraf is going to give us like his personal journey. He's going to tell us how he applied the documents. I'll
be very specific.
Anyway, bye guys. See you on the next video.